much, everybody. Today, I have this honor of inviting and taking the advantage of the esteemed professor, uh, dear Donald Cannon, in our webinar, which I think and I do believe that many of you, all of you, are going to learn a lot of things from uh, Professor Donald Cannon. So we are going to talk about legal English, or let's say acquiring plain English for lawyers. This is the title of our webinar, which is going to let you know a lot of useful things about, how you as a lawyer or as a law student, as a, any other person who is practicing in law, legal researcher, how you have to, you know, focus on learning and, let's say, rather than learning, acquiring legal English. So let me tell you a little bit about Professor Donald Cannon, which is the presenter today. Professor Donald Cannon has more than 60 years of experience of teaching English, and in particular to Russian lawyers for so many years. He is the university professor at Baltic Federal Law University in Kaliningrad in Russia, and also he's the university professor in Preklis Center for International Legal Studies in Moscow. So today, I again declare that this is my, from the bottom of my heart, this is my honor that we have dear Professor Donald Cannon to be speaking with us today, and we can learn a lot of things. I'd like to again ask you to mute your microphones during your class, and whenever you have a question, feel free to interrupt either me or dear Professor to ask your questions. This course is intended. Yes.
ما الان 100 نفر شرکت کننده داریم. کی شروع میکنیم؟
الان شروع کرده.
ما شروع کردیم. صدای ما شروع کردیم. صدای ما رو دارن شرکت کننده ها؟ اوکی. شما بی زحمت دیگه اگه صدای ما رو نمیشنوین کامنتی ندین که اگه صدا اوکیه آقای سماواتی به من میگن. Thank you. Should I continue? Okay, yeah, I told you that this course is, intended to be an example for our main course of plain English, acquiring plain English for lawyers, which covers 25 sessions of learning. And we're gonna start the class in about maybe less than 2 weeks. And so you know that we are going to discuss lots of different things which can really help you as a law student. And I know that many of you are going to participate in the upcoming master or PhD exams. So it's important for you to get a very high score and high percentage, which can help you, be admitted in a university, in your preferred university and your preferred field. So this is very important because a part of even this session is going to be dedicated on the techniques you have to employ to answer to the questions, master and PhD exams. So, and also I would like to add one thing which is very important and which can, make our today's webinar interesting. We're gonna have a quiz competition today. So we will ask you 3 questions. We will send you a link on Google Form. You have to click the link. You have to, first of all, write down your name and your phone number. There are 3 questions. And you will be given 5 minutes to answer those 3 questions. And if any one of you answers all the questions correctly, you're going to be given 50% discount on registering for our main course. So this is a very great opportunity also for you to be benefited from this discount that we're considering for all of you to register for the acquiring plain English for lawyers course, which includes 25 sessions, and you're going to learn a lot of things out of that webinar. So please stay with us and please listen to dear Professor Donald Cannon, I would like to formally invite the professor to start. I have nothing more to say. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ali. Why don't we go ahead and just do the quiz, take the 5-6 minutes for doing the quiz right now. I think
Right now.
probably the best thing to do, okay? Anybody
Yes.
who's late misses it. Are you okay?
Okay, it's okay. So, dear Ruhi, can you please share the link with the students? The link I sent you on Telegram.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes. Share them the link, and you have, and we'll give them time. So they have to answer the questions within only 5 minutes. And if we receive the answer after 5 minutes, so that means we're not going to consider it.
So I've started the clock. 5 minutes?
No, he hasn't yet sent.
He hasn't sent it yet. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Okay.
هر موقع لینک رو
Done.
فرستادی شما بگو که زمان بگید. Done. You send the link.
Yep.
ببینید این
Yes, go ahead, please continue. Whatever you wanted to say.
Yeah, you have 5 minutes to answer these questions. یه لحظه. دوستان شما باید این 3 سوال رو جواب بدید. 5 دقیقه هم فرصت دارید که به این 3 سوال جواب بدید. Dear Donald, with your permission, some of them didn't understand what's going on, so I have to.
You explained in Farsi. Good. Okay,
Yeah,
fine. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
ببینید شما 3 تا سوال هست و این لینک رو اگر کلیک کنید ما میخوایم یه ارزیابی داشته باشیم که هر کس 3 سوال رو درست پاسخ بده در وبینار اصلی ما که با استاد برگزار میشه و 25 جلسه است 50% تخفیف ما براتون در نظر میگیریم برای اینکه بتونید ثبت نام بکنید. منتها در صورتی که این 3 سوال رو کاملا درست جواب بدید. بنابراین از الان به بعد چون خیلیاتون متوجه نشدید از الان به بعد شما 5 دقیقه فرصت دارید. که اینها رو جواب بدید. صرفا اسمتون و شماره موبایلتون هم یادتون نره، چون سوال اول و دوم قسمت A و B اینه و سوال ها هم تستیه. باید انتخاب کنید و بعدش ارسال میکنید برای من در سیستم خودم دسترسی بهش خواهم داشت. امیدوارم متوجه شده باشید و از همین الان شروع میشه کار. Your Donald, I let them know that I explained it in Farsi, and can we consider the timing starts from now, maybe this 5 minutes countdown?
Okay, right now. Okay, fine.
Okay. I can even, dear Donald, let you know about the percentage of the correct answers for each questions. For each question. You're muted.
Let's just be quiet and let everybody think about their answers so they don't bother by our voices.
Okay.
Okay, there are 2 minutes left. If you're in confusion about what to answer, I would advise you to trust your intuition and see what happens. One minute left. We'll do this like a moot court. 30 seconds. And stop. Okay, very good. Well, thank you very much, Ali, for that very kind introduction. My name is Donald Cannon, and I'd like things to be very informal in our class. Please just call me Donald. Forget about Professor. That was my grandfather. Forget about Mr. Cannon, and just, we want it to be personal and informal. Okay, and I'd like to mention about the honor that you are according me. Actually, you, the listeners, are the ones who are the honor. It's an honor for me to be able to speak to you and to impart what it is that I've managed to acquire about English. So please consider yourselves to be the honored ones here. And I say this because when you do consider yourselves to be the honored ones, then somehow the learning process goes much faster. So I'll begin with our presentation. You'll see in front of you a picture of, it's a pointillist, very famous picture. This represents what we are going to do in class. If you notice, it's dots. You get up close to the dots and you see just little bitty dots. That's what we do. We're going to look at English in every little detail. Then we're going to step back and we're going to see the whole picture. That's what makes the picture. So that's one metaphor for the course. The other metaphor is like right here, a glass of water, okay? Each course that you take at a university, the professor basically gives you a glass of water that you drink throughout the entire course, the 4 months or the 2 semesters, whatever. We're going to do this differently. I'm going to give you a glass of water every time we meet, okay? The glass of water contains the entire English language. And I'm going to ask you, I'm going to insist that you actually drink this glass of water down each time. And each time, you're getting the entire English language thrown at you, and something stays, something stays, something stays, more and more. And that's how we actually acquire English. We're going to be acquiring English. We're going to talk about that process a little bit more. Now, is there anybody who is having trouble understanding me? I speak fairly fast. If you do, please say slow down. And I'll slow down for 2 or 3 minutes, and then I'll speed up again, because that just always happens. But at least I know that, maybe not everybody is following me. So if anybody's having problems with understanding me, please, send a message or just say, Donald, slow down. You can do that too. That's perfectly fine. I hope everybody is hearing me okay. I'm not too sure on the technical things. Okay, but let's go on, because the next question I want to ask goes like this. How do we think? Because how we think depends upon how we express ourselves. And basically, what we're doing today is we are using what I call a circular thinking process. You can see we have a problem here in the very beginning, and we go in a circle around to get to a solution. But we might begin with a G instead of an A. We might go from a G to a P, and from there to an I. So we're not going A, B, C. We're going as the things happen to hit us. And that's how our minds work, okay? That's how English works. That's how any language works. But unfortunately, you're all lawyers, and lawyers have to think in a linear way, okay? This is a linear thinking process. We have a problem, we go in a direct line until we get to a solution. And we go A, B, C, D, E, F, G. In other words, what we need to do is we need to go back and look at our circular process and figure out where the letters are. Okay, do we have an A anywhere? No, we don't have an A anywhere. So we've got to find out where the A is and then go to the B and then go to the C, et cetera, when we get to our linear process, back to the linear process. Good. Now, very interestingly, I talked about acquiring English. Well, we acquire English through not the linear process, but through the circular process. Unfortunately, when we go in an academic setting, we learn English, we're doing the linear process. So we aren't acquiring English, we're just stuffing amounts of information into our mind. Let's ask the next question. So how is it that we convey information? How do we convey information? Well, there are 3 steps that I always like to say. The first step is give your answer first. Okay? Tell the people what you're going to say and give them the answer. Give them 3 arguments. For example, we talk about blood, sweat. Can anybody tell me what the 3rd word is going to be? Blood, sweat, and tears. Okay? It doesn't seem to have come up on the screen. Does everybody see the blood, sweat, and tears?
Dear Ruhi, please bring them up. Blood, sweat, and tears.
You just keep pushing the downward arrow.
Mm-hmm.
Yes? No?
روحی جان این ستا رو بلاد و سوئت و تیرز هم بی زحمت بیار که
Or right click on the mouse. Just right click on the mouse.
من میارم نگران نباش.
نه الان نیوردی آخه همزمان با هم نمیره همزمان بی زحمت بشه چون الان بلاد سوئت تیرز این ستا هم شما بی زحمت.
Actually left click on the mouse.
Yeah. Left click, yeah. Yeah.
There. Okay, so let's do the blood first. It's not there. Okay, blood. The second one is sweat. And of course, we know blood, sweat, and we automatically understand tears. So the tears is the 3rd one. Okay? Yes? Let's have tears.
Okay,
one more right click. Yeah, okay. Sorry about this. One more advance.
روحی جان این تیرز هم بیار قسمت تیرز نمیاد الان یه دونش نیومده فقط یکی بزن جلو کاری نداره بسیار.
Blood, sweat, and tears. Now we have it. Good. Okay. And the reason I say this 3 things. Nature creates everything in 3s and in 5s. And we tend to think in that way. No, not yet. Okay. Okay, fine. I'll talk a little bit more about the 3 because we can remember things in 3s. We don't remember things in 2s. We don't remember things in 4s. So if you want your audience to remember, give them 3 things, okay? Just keep things simple. That's the 3rd. So here, remember, answer first, okay? Another right click, right. Next one, 3 arguments with the blood, sweat, and tears. Beautiful. And keep things simple, okay? So, okay, so just remember, right, a little bit more, yeah. Okay, that's fine. There we go. Keep things simple. Good. Okay, fine. So the next question is, what do we do? What do we use to convey our information? Okay. Now, the reason I ask this question is when I speak in Russian, I live in Moscow, I teach Russians. So when I speak in Russian, I use nouns like this. The destruction of the building occurred during the storm. Okay? Now, that makes sense to a Russian speaker. How much sense this makes to Farsi speakers, I'm not sure, because I don't speak Farsi, unfortunately. I'd love to learn it. But when I'm speaking in English, I have to go from nouns to verbs. And if you'll notice, we're going to change destruction from a noun to a verb. So I say, the storm destroyed the building. In English, I understand this perfectly. In Russian, I understand this perfectly. Up here, the destruction of the building occurred during the storm. But I don't understand the noun in English, okay? So we have to figure what our audience is and what our audience knows, okay? So if we talk about different language structures and nouns, Russian grammar for every possible word has 36 different forms, nouns. And that's the glue that holds everything together. In English, our forms or our case endings, we only have 4 in English. So we can't use the nouns in the same way that we work in Russian. Okay, good, that's fine. We'll go to the next one then. So we have, when we go to verbs, however, if you count up the number of verb forms that we have in English, and it always surprises people, we have 21 different verb forms, and we also have 9 modal verbs. So that gives us a total of 30. In Russian, we have only 3. So we can't use the verbs the way in Russian, the way we use in English. We can't use the nouns in English the way that we use them in Russian. And we have to keep this in mind. English is verb-based. Now, from what I understand of Farsi, I think you have something like 15 or 16 different verb forms. Am I close, Ali?
Yes, you are.
Okay, so we're going to be talking about a mixture of things. And you're going to have to help me try to understand how Farsi works so that we can use Farsi to help you understand English better. And we're going to talk about using the structure in a minute about that. Okay, so now, how do we convey our information? And we have what I call Einstein's 3 axioms. Oh, I'm sorry, about the nouns. The destruction of the building occurred during the storm. I'm sorry, I forgot about this particular slide. And the storm destroyed the building. We can see the verbs. Now, let's go to Einstein and his 3 axioms of reality. I'm going to have to ask somebody to help me out here because I hope everybody can read it fine. Now, it's not Albert Einstein, it's my friend Joe Einstein. He came up with these 3 axioms of reality. Now, can anybody tell me what the first part says? E sub F equals C. What does that mean in ordinary English? Who can help me? Who can explain it? Anybody? Give it a try. Let's hear somebody who's really brave and is willing to speak tonight. Anybody? Give it a try. Ali, how about you?
No, let other people comment here.
Okay. Can somebody help us out? We're going to do a lot of this in the class, and whoever asked me the question about how do I learn English, well, this is your chance to do it. And even if you make a mistake, in fact, if you make a mistake, then we figure out, oh, okay, there's a little bit of a mistake here, let's correct it. And mistakes are our friends. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. That's what I want to hear in this class. I want to hear mistakes because that helps us move. So whoever spoke to me first or second or third, please give it a try for what this E sub F equals C. What does that mean in English? No? Well, okay, I'll have to do it. To begin, okay, erudition. Erudition is knowledge. It's how much you know. You may not be familiar with somebody, but if somebody is erudite, that person is very wise and very smart. So erudition in Farsi is complexity. In other words, you have to make long sentences in Farsi to make people think that you know a lot. Okay? Yeah. Okay. Let's try the second one. Can anybody help me with the second one now that you know how the first one goes?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody? Well, it's just the same thing. Erudition here is here. It's not Farsi in English. Is what? Is simplicity. Okay. Okay. I don't know if anybody has read any writings or decisions by Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who was one of the Supreme Court judges some 4 or 5 years ago. But you read what she wrote and yeah, okay, it's because she uses simplicity. Let's move on to the conclusion, however, because C sub E is SN. Anybody can tell me what that means? Okay, very simply or very ordinarily, complexity in English is nothing but snobbery. Okay, yeah. You're just trying to show yourself off. So keep that in mind. That's the first axiom. Remember that. Our second axiom is writing in plain English is all about simplicity. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be stressing simplicity. However, the third axiom is what is the hard part, because there's nothing simple about getting to simplicity. Okay, getting to simplicity is one of the most difficult things you will ever do. Okay.
Yeah.
So, or as I would like to say, that even English-speaking lawyers frequently display a marked aversion to maintaining a facility in formulating their legal opinions. Now, how simple is that? Not very. Okay? That's the way lawyers like to talk. And here's what they say.
Yeah.
Lawyers don't like to keep their writing simple. That's all that says, okay? So there's an example of the 3 axioms. And we're going to be focusing on this. Now, I'm going to ask for some actual participation because we have to do this. So, Ali, maybe you can pick somebody if we don't get any volunteers. So
okay.
Let's look at, for example, there are 3 misstatements of fact in the prosecution's opening brief. How can we write that better? Or how can we say it better? Somebody please come up with something.
Yeah, please. Please intervene and answer to this question.
Okay. What I mean to say, before we go on with this very thing, this course is involved with participation. You will learn by doing. You won't learn by just listening and making notes. We are not head here, we are gut here. We're working from our feelings, okay? And that's the way English works. So, can anybody think of a better way of saying this? A shorter way, maybe. Ali, can you maybe suggest somebody who might be able to help out?
Yeah, maybe. Anybody who knows English well maybe can intervene and answer to this question. Because I do not see the participants' names here. I'm on the Google Meet.
Oh,
But,
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Please, if you can answer. Even, dear professor said that do not be afraid of making a mistake. We are really here to make a mistake. After that, we have to know what is our mistake. If you know any, I don't know, other way of saying this, there are three misstatements of fact in the prosecution's opening brief. How can we say this sentence in another way to make it more simple to understand? That's the question. Maybe you can make it shorter a little bit. Can anybody intervene?
Okay, I'll give you a hint. Okay,
Okay.
was somebody starting to speak?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Let's say you have to say it differently, but you can't begin with there are. In fact, you can't even use there are. Anyone?
دوستان آبروداری بکنید و یک کدومتون یک پاسخی بده. Yeah. I'm
Anybody?
sorry.
Okay, we're not getting there. Unfortunately.
I have one opinion. I'm not sure, but I think the simple form of this sentence is that the first opinion of the prosecutor was actually mistaken. His first statement was incorrect.
Okay, well, there are three actually, but that's okay. Fine. Okay, you're getting very close to how we do it. Okay, because
Yeah.
what you're doing is you're taking this misstatements and you're moving it around. Okay, now here is what most, at least my Russian students will tell me is the prosecution's opening brief contains three misstatements of fact.
Yeah.
Okay, now that's getting closer, but we haven't gotten to verbs.
Yeah.
Contains is a dead verb, it's not an active verb. Now, you got closer. Can you figure out how to make it active?
Yeah.
Just keep with me. Let's have a conversation between the two of us. I can't see your face. I can't even see your name. So just try to move it one step further. By the way, what was your name? I hope I can pronounce it.
Yeah.
What was your name?
What was your name?
My name is Hesam.
Hassan?
Hesam.
Okay. Hassan.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. Hassan. Now, take it one step further. What is the action in this second version? Where is the action occurring?
The action, what do you mean? The statement, you mean? The statement that has been released?
Well, this particular second sentence is not active, but it has action in it. Where is the action? I'm trying to get you thinking outside of the box of nouns and thinking of verbs. So what is a better verb than contain? Can you follow? Any idea? Well, I'll give you a hint. Misstatement is a noun, but this is where all of the action is. How do you turn it into a verb?
Please respond here, Hassam. Do you hear us? Hassam?
Yeah, but I have no clue, unfortunately.
Okay.
What is the verb form of misstatement here, Hassam?
Yeah.
How can you put it in the form of a verb? Misstatement. You know?
Unfortunately, no.
Of course you do. You do know. It's just
You know.
Okay. There we go. The prosecution's opening brief misstated 3 facts. Okay. Stated incorrectly is what it means. Okay. So I know you know it because maybe you just have never even said it, but it's still in your mind. Okay. But look at how much stronger this third version is than the first version. Okay. This is what I'm talking about in terms of using active verbs. And we're going to be doing this. This is what we're going to be focusing on. And we'll be doing it in writing and in speaking. Okay. Good. Thank you. I really appreciate your participation.
At one point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, I think in Farsi, we also have the same structure as in the Russian. If we want to, for example, transfer the meaning of this sentence into Farsi, so it would be something like there are 3 misstatements of fact in the prosecution's opening brief. And we do not use the, for example, the exact verbatim translation for misstated. What we say misstatements. We say, for example, in Farsi, it would be something like سه اشتباه در ارتباط با حقایق در ارائه در لایحه دادستانی وجود داشت. سه اشتباه means 3 misstatements. I use, you know, the verb form in Farsi.
Yeah. Well, in actual fact, this first way, there are 3 misstatements, is the way lawyers love to write, okay? But if they really want to make imagine, okay, I am speaking for the defendant, for example. If I get up and speak to the jury, there are 3 misstatements of fact in the prosecution's opening brief. Well, so what? I get up in front of the jury and I say, the prosecution's opening brief misstated 3 facts. See how much stronger that is?
Much stronger.
Yeah. Much stronger. Okay, and that's what we're moving to do. And you don't necessarily always have to write it this way, but if you don't know that it exists and you don't know how to get to it, then you're still caught in a box. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get out of the box. Okay, I'd like to go on and talk about acquiring a language. So what is the difference between learning a language and acquiring one? All right. Rather simply, language acquisition and learning are processed in 2 different ways and in different areas of the brain. So if we think of the green here as how we acquire as kids when we're 3, 4, 5 years old, and it works automatically, and the pink here as this huge big bunch of stuff that we keep stuffing into our brains, that's the learning, okay? Now, not only do we store it in different places, but when we go to retrieve it as we're speaking, it takes longer to get out, okay? So what we're trying to do is we're trying to acquire these new skills. And acquiring new skills is like riding a bicycle. We have to have these little wheels on the sides that help us. And what we're doing is we're using rules and talking about how to do this. Now notice how the girl is pedaling. She is acquiring muscle knowledge. And that's what we're doing. We're going to build new muscle memory. That's what we do by acquiring. So that's where we're going and what this course is all about. And who answered the question on the prosecutor's brief? What was your name?
Hassam.
Hassam. Okay, Hassam. Whether or not you know it, today you made a step in acquiring new muscle memory. You'd be surprised at how quickly it happens, okay? So we're learning to ride a bicycle, or we're learning, let's say, we know how to ride a bicycle, but now we're learning to ride a motorcycle, for example, okay? New muscle memory, okay? So thinking outside of the box, okay? So what is your acquiring box? In other words, what keeps you from acquiring things because you're in a box? How do you get out of it? Anybody? I'm going to give you a very strange answer. And the strange answer comes in that it is outside of the box in itself. Change your palette. What's a palette? Does anybody know what a palette is? Okay, if I'm a painter, I have a palette like this. Okay, this is my thing. Okay, got a palette here. I put my paint on the palette. I hold the palette and I paint. That's what a palette is. And what do I mean by changing your palette? I mean, here's where you go. Vincent van Gogh, the famous Impressionist artist. Okay, he was from Holland. And he lived in Holland for the first part of his career. And he painted in these dark colors like Rembrandt. And he had some financial problems. He went to Paris and lived with his brother. And there he met the Impressionists who were painting with light colors. And if you ever have read his diary or his letters to his brother, he's always talking about having to change his palette from the dark to the light. And that's exactly what he did. And pretty soon we have pictures like this. You wouldn't even think it's the same artist, okay? So that's what I mean by changing your palette, okay? So he moved to the south, saw the light, and saw what people were doing. Okay, the next question is, how TMI? Anybody know what it means? TMI means too much information. And the question is, how much information do you really need? Okay, let's take, I copied this. Actually, I copied this from I translated a notice that I got on the door to my apartment building here in Moscow. We would like to inform you that due to a cessation in the main gas supply to the complex, no hot water will be available today between 10 and 18. Okay? Too much information. 30 words. How can we say it less? Anybody?
Anybody?
Anybody? Just an idea. Okay. Well, first of all, let's look like this. We would like to inform you that. Well, that's exactly what you're doing by putting a notice on that board. So we don't need those words at all. 2, 4, 6, 7 words gone, period, okay? Do we need to say why this happens? Probably not, and certainly not this way. How about this? Hot water will be shut off today between 10 and 18. That's all we need to know, okay? And we can remember that much, okay? The other stuff is, you know, it's what we call fluff. Yep, I'm sure you have. Do you have dandelions in Iran? Ali?
What? Can you ask?
Dandelions, the flowers, dandelions in Iran.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, what are they? What do you call them?
I think I have to think what's the equivalent in Farsi. Can you just start explaining a little bit more on that? And what is it so that I can choose the correct?
It's a yellow flower, and it grows up, and then it turns into nothing but fluff, nothing but a bunch of little things that you blow them and they go away.
Sorry, I wanted to say it's fasada.
What? The voice is being echoed. Can you please
It's
repeat your
قاصدک, if I'm not wrong.
Qasadak.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's Qasadak. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Qasadak in Farsi, one of the participants said, I didn't know.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's not a very common. We've got problems with the sound, I'm afraid, and I'm not too sure what we need to do. But okay, so dandelion. All this is fluff. Go. The dandelion goes. It's gone. Okay.
Yeah.
And it can even be. This is 11 words. This versus 30. But this is all you really need to do. No hot water today. 10 to 18.
Yeah.
So, and that's 7 words. So, depending upon which way you want to do it, you want to do something like this. So, short sentences. I'm going to give you, we're going to do writing, and I'm going to give you some writing rules, and I'll basically explain what they are right now. Okay, so first of all, we don't use passives. Can anybody give me an example of a passive in English?
Yeah.
Anybody?
Passive means majhul. Dusan, if you have any idea of an example in English.
Yes, can I give you an example?
Please.
Solutions to problems are found by the scientists.
Once more, the sound wasn't very good.
Solutions to the problems are found by the scientists. That was she said.
Good. That's a perfect example of a passive, because you can make it active so easily. Scientists find solutions to the problems. It's so much easier. So I'm going to simplify things just to show you what kinds of passives we have. The work was done, okay? And you might say the work was done by the scientists, okay? Another way we can say it is the work is being done right now, okay, by the scientists. We have another form of passive that you probably have a lot in Farsi. We have a lot in English is impersonal phrases. The it is important. It is essential. It is crucial. It is necessary to do the work, okay? We have no idea who's involved here with all of this. So yeah. When we are using active verbs, we don't use any passives at all. I will show you an actual memorial written for the Philip Jessup Moot Court, and it won the best memorial award here at the Russian rounds, and there are almost no passives in it. They took the passives out and turned them into actives. And you can see, I'll just show you marked in color where the passives and the actives are, and you'll be surprised. Okay, so the other thing is keep your sentences short, 25 words per sentence, maximum, no more than that. You can make it shorter, much the better, okay? 2 ideas per sentence, maximum, nothing more. You get too many ideas and people get confused. If you need more words or ideas, start a new sentence. It's so simple, okay? These are important ideas in the writing and in how you speak too, okay? So, normal word order when you're writing. Subject, verb, object, all the rest. I went to the store to buy milk, okay? Something like that, okay? Lawyers love to move things around, love to say, in accordance with law number 1543 of the Russian Federal Civil Code, and according to the proclamation from President Putin dated whatever, it is necessary. You see what I mean? This kind of stuff that just doesn't get anywhere. We're going to get rid of that. We're going to teach you how to, or show you, and you're going to do it, how to write in simple English. Don't write pretty. I once had a student who was writing a memorial for Jessup, and she came up with this very complex paragraph. And it took us about 15 minutes looking at the paragraph. We got down to like her fourth or fifth sentence, and she had this very intricate verb that she was using. And I say, well, why did you choose this verb? She says, because I like the sound of it. No, wait a minute. You wrote a whole paragraph that the judges have to think about around one verb? No, you don't do that. You write your ideas out. And what really happens when you simplify your ideas, suddenly the pretty words start suggesting themselves, but the right pretty words. So you write for meaning instead of being pretty, okay? The pretty words, as I said, come later, okay? So now there's one final thing that I want to talk about, and that is, well, it's not one final thing, but in terms of the writing, it goes like this. Every single word you write does one of two things. Either it adds to your meaning or it detracts from it. It takes away from it. Each word operates this way. So if you've got a sentence with 35 words and 7 of them add to the meaning, that means 28 detract from the meaning. And that means you don't have any meaning in your sentence at all. You've got something like 35. What is that? That's 80% of your words detracting from the 20% that are saying something. Okay. So therefore, any word that doesn't improve your message automatically worsens it. And we're going to get rid of those words and show you how to do it. Okay. Let's go to our questions. Okay. Or our master's and PhD programs. How many people got this one? Have you answered the? Have you told people what their scores are, or are we doing this now?
Yeah, I know. I can let you know now if you want.
Okay. Don't give me the answers because we're going to talk about the answers right now. What do we have?
I'm not going to let you know the answers, but you want to know how many of them answered the first question correctly?
Yes.
Yeah, 69 persons responded to this question, and 52.2% of them answered correctly.
That's wonderful. Okay. Now, I'm going to talk about how we do these, how we approach. We're going to talk about the strategy. And I don't know what you did, but see if you followed this thing. So, this approach. First of all, we want to say, what are the main words that we have to figure out here, okay? And that is, we have to get this word here that's missing, and we're going to talk about extent and problem. All right. Now, when we have 4 answers, there are usually 2 that we can eliminate, and the final 2 are similar. Okay, we're going to look at it grammatically. Can we solve an extent of a problem? Yes, no? How many people think we can solve an extent of a problem? No, we can't. We can solve a problem, but we can't solve the extent of a problem. Yeah. Can we donate? So cross off solve. Can we donate to an extent of a problem? Well, yes, we can donate to an extent of a problem, but there's no to here. Okay. Yeah. Intended to donate, you'd have to have a to right here. So that's gone. What do we do when we distract? We had distract up here. Let's go back. It detracts from, okay? Or is it distract? Oh, it's distract, okay? Sorry, not detract, okay. Can you, oops, let's go here. Can you distract the extent of a problem? No, you can distract a person from what he's doing. So you can't distract an extent. That leaves us understate. Does understate work? Yeah, it works beautifully. So this is the way you approach these types of problems. Okay. Let's look at there's the answer. Understate. Good. 52%.
Yeah, 52%.
69%. Great, great. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's look at the second one. What do we?
Yes.
What are our figures there?
Yeah, let me tell you. Yeah, out of 69 responses, 43.5% of them answered correctly.
Good. This is a much harder thing. Okay. So I'm going to read it aloud, and then we're going to talk about how to look at it. Okay. Hardy was to some degree interested in exploring his character's psychologies, though blank, less by curiosity than by sympathy. We're going to look at, again, the same thing. What words are important that we have to know? The first thing we're going to do, though, is, oops, sorry, I went the wrong way, is we're going to forget the context. Okay, this whole sentence was, Hardy was to some degree interested in exploring. This is a sentence taken out of some kind of a novel that might have been written 100 years ago. We don't have any context. We have no idea who Hardy was. Is he a psychologist? Why are we talking about him? And this is the way these sentences happen to get into an exam. They get pulled out of somewhere, and you're supposed to answer. So forget the context. Let's look at the structure, okay? And let's make the parallel structure. So if we look at the first half of the sentence, Hardy was to some degree disinterested in exploring his character's psychologies, was interested. Then the second half is, though blank, less curiosity by sympathy. We're going to make it a parallel structure. But before we do that, we're going to look at what words we need to look at. And all we need is was interested, and he was what? Impelled? No. Impels? No. Impelled. ED, parallel structure, impelling. It's the only way you can do it. So if you apply these two principles, it works. Is it clear or not clear? Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
I think very clear. Yeah, and useful. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So there are two things we look at. We look at the grammar, we look at the structure, and we figure out what we kind of throw away the meaning because we don't know what the meaning of the sentence is. Okay. Let's look at a third one. Okay. Now this is a much longer, more difficult one.
But you maybe think it's more difficult, but for Iranians, I don't know why, 89.9% of the individuals answered it correctly, 62 out of 69.
Okay, that's interesting. Now you see in America, this whole long sentence would be very difficult unless you just look at for C. And the word for C in the paragraph has similar meaning to, well, if I were doing it, I would just add this, and look at what's there, okay? But let's go through the whole process because it's kind of important. I'm going to read the whole sentence, and then you will see the whole paragraph, and then you will see that there's really, again, we're going to forget the what they're talking about. On a policy level, this article proposes the following duty to contract in order to translate theory into practice. Well, I think we're going to throw all of that away. We don't need any of that for figuring out what it is. Contracting parties are required to take into account negative externalities to third parties, and probably most of that we're going to throw away too, when the contracting parties could reasonably foresee that performance of the contract would create a risk of physical harm to these third parties. What words do we need to know? Actually, we need to know very few. We need to see reasonably foresee harm. Okay, now, if you don't know what foresee means, you can figure it out etymologically. And it goes like this, okay? For is in advance. For example, we have a weather forecast. We can foretell events. We have a foretaste of something that might happen. And as lawyers, we always have to think of malice aforethought, in advance. In other words, a murderer is being malicious. He's thinking bad thoughts in advance of killing somebody and probably planning. And C is just C. So you are doing it in advance. Let's look at, pause it. No, that's kind of hard. You might not know what that is. Let's throw that, say maybe. Specify. How are you going to, when the contracting parties could reasonably specify the performance of contract? No, I don't think that works at all. You specify things, not that a contract would do something. Predict, let's get to predict, okay? Pre is ahead, like in prehistoric, or a preview, or a precedent in law, something that came before. Presume, a presumption is something that happens before, or to prevail, that's also something that happens before. And diction, okay, it's really easy. Diction is to speak. Dictate, or a dictator, or an edict, which is something that is issued. So predict looks like the correct answer. Assert. So how can you reasonably assert that the performance would create a risk? No, maybe you don't want to assert it. That's what you don't want to do. You want to make sure that the risk is not going to be there. So your answer is very simply predict. Good. Okay. So Ali, at the end, I'll give you a chance to talk about the totals on the what do I want to say, on our little quiz here today. So I'm going to conclude with a few last thoughts about how we build a way of learning, improving your English. First of all, think creatively, because the old ways won't open new doors, okay? Again, we're building new muscle memory. That's what we're going for. And to do new muscle memory, you just have to exercise those muscles. Follow the new rules that I'm going to give to you, and you'll start doing this. You start walking out of the box. If you also work on improving your English. And we talked about 3 things. Here are the 3 things that you have to worry about improving your English: time, discipline, and behavior modification. Okay? Time. Time in terms of quantity and quality. Now, we'll talk about first about quantity. People think, well, I'll sit down and I will work on my English for 2 hours a day. Well, that might work for 3 or 4 days, but then you lose the two hours, and pretty soon you lose your interest, and it goes away. So think about what I mentioned: 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening, listening to English. That's at least some kind of quantity, but it's constant. The quality is what you put into it, and that's kind of the time. In the morning, quality is what is important, because we learn language better in the morning than the evening. That's just often that happens. Discipline, okay? You have to sacrifice something. If you don't sacrifice, you're not going to learn. So it's not like, okay, I'm going to add English into my schedule. It's the other way around. I'm going to take something out of my schedule so that English can take its place. And what happens is your household, maybe you don't wash the dishes or wash the floor as often. You don't have as much fun in your life. You don't get as much sleep, especially for the women. Okay, you don't have time to do all of your fancy clothes and your hairdos and your jewelry and stuff. You just give some of that up. You give up time at work. That's what happens. You have to give something up. and your family. You don't have as much time for your family. Now, behavior modification. This is probably the hardest part for lawyers, because lawyers, like judges, like governmental people, like people who are really busy and have access to power, maybe not the power itself, but are involved in powerful positions, don't modify their behavior. They don't go to psychiatrists and say, what can I do to make my life better? But if you don't modify your behavior, you're not going to make it. That's because lawyers, like all of these people, are hardwired. You're like radios, old-fashioned radios that have the tubes and the electricity and all that, and you're not like our modern devices, which aren't hardwired. Basically, that's all I have to say. Anybody has any questions, comments, love to hear from you. And Ali, I'm going to stop my presentation, and please make your concluding remarks, whatever. Anybody wants to say anything, let's leave it open for discussion.
Yeah, we'll be welcoming the questions. If you have any questions, you can interrupt. I really thank you, dear professor, for your useful points that you shared with us today. And, this gonna, if you're knowing about our main course, I want to just add some points in English, and then with the permission of dear professor, I would like to add some, explanations in Farsi for you to, understand it better. Yeah. We're gonna continue these kind of courses and classes in our main course, which will focus on different areas that you have to learn. One of them is grammar. So you know that in the PhD test, in today's test, which you participated, and many of you have, answered correctly. A lot of, 2/3 of the questions were from the PhD test, and 1/3 of them from the master test, which we call it کنکور ارشد و دکتری. They were the questions from کنکور ارشد و دکتری, which you have to face in the future, and you have to get a higher score out of it. So we're going to work on these questions and many more questions for master and PhD during our main course, which will begin on, if I'm not wrong, 21st of Azar, 21 Azar, or the 11th of December, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, the first session will be on 11th of December. So we're going to talk about vocabulary. You're going to learn lots of vocabularies. And one of our main focus is on writing. So you're going to be given a lot of handouts and homeworks, and what you're writing during the class is going to be peer reviewed by so many experts in this regard, including the dear professor. So this method is going to really help you in a long process, which we're working with each other for about a month, can really help you, get a better understanding of English. So if, dear professor, you let me, can I add some words in Farsi now?
Right. Before that, let me just mention that we are going to have a different promo session. Okay, it'll be around the same ideas, but we'll talk about some other aspects of the program too. We are going to have classes on Saturdays, Mondays, and Wednesdays. Okay, yeah. 1.5 hours, a break, and another 1.5 hours. So it's a commitment of 3.5 hours all at once, and it'll be very intensive. Our first session is what we call the zero session. It will happen on the 11th of December. What's that in your Iranian calendar?
21 Azar.
Okay, I wish I could pronounce it. Maybe I will begin it. Okay, and it will not be 2 classes. It will be 1 class lasting for 1.5 hours, maybe 2 hours. And we'll be talking about how the classes work. And at that day, I will give you homework for the first class that will take place then on Saturday, the 15th. Oh, sorry, the 14th of December. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
So go ahead with Farsi. I love to hear the sound of it.
Thank you very much. خب دوستان، اینجا استاد به من اجازه دادن که چند کلامی به زبان فارسی هم در خدمت شما باشم، یک سری توضیحات رو بدم خدمتتون. میدونم ممکنه خیلی از شماها یه سری جاها رو متوجه نشده باشید در این وبینار، در این جلسه. اصلا خود من هم چیزای جدیدی یاد میگیرم و واقعا همه چیز یعنی باید طوری پیش بره که در ادامه و تداوم جلسات اگه همراه ما باشید در دوره اصلی، استاد همیشه خودشون به من گفتن که مثلا یک دانشجویی رو من داشتم که دفعه اول 10% متوجه میشد، بعد 20 جلسه دیدیم که آقا طرف اصلا میتونه خودش حرف بزنه، صحبت بکنه، بیشتر بفهمه. مهم این پیشرفته هست که ما قراره در این کلاس که گفته شد که از 21 آذر ما شنبه ها، دوشنبه ها و چهارشنبه ها غیر از جلسه اول که ساعت 3:30 تا 5 هست به وقت ایران، سایر جلسه ها هر روز، یعنی در این روزهای زوج ما 2 جلسه داریم، ساعت 5:30 تا 7 و 7:30 تا 9. و شما قراره در این جلسات از استاد محورهای اصلی رو یاد بگیرید که از جمله نگارش هست که الان مثلا یک مثالی زدن که آقا تا جایی که میتونید از فعل معلوم استفاده کنید، جملات کوتاه، اینها رو قراره کار بکنید. و بعدش گرامر هست که گرامر قطعاً کمک کننده شما هست در بسیاری از مسائل و از جمله شرکت در کنکور خیلی میتونه در واقع شما رو کمک کنه. یکی از فوکس های ما هم این هست که تمرکزهای ما این هست که کار کنیم روی کنکور ارشد دکتری. خیلی از شما شاید الان دغدغه این رو دارید که الان 2-3 ماه دیگه که کنکور دارم من درصد بالایی بگیرم و ما روی اینها قرار کار کنیم. تقریبا 1/3 کلاس به این قضیه اختصاص پیدا میکنه و متدهای تست زنی رو شما یاد میگیرید، ضمن اینکه خود کلاس هم شما رو کمک میکنه. یعنی حتی اگر وکیل هم باشید، یکی از مهمترین ویژگی های این کلاس اینه که شما نوشتن حقوقی رو به درستی یاد بگیرید. تمامی کلاس هایی که شرکت کردید عموما اینطوری بوده که آقا بگن مثلا این واژه حقوقی به چه معناست، الف به جیم دال. شما نمیدونید، همین الان میتونید برید در دیکشنری یا واژه حقوقی رو سرچ کنید، معنیش رو پیدا بکنید. اما اون چیزی که مهمه در این کلاس اینه که شما بیشتر تمرکز ما روی انگلیسی عمومیه. چه جوانبی از انگلیسی عمومی رو شما باید بدونید تا در واقع این که بتونید اینها رو خوب به عنوان یک حقوقی به کار ببرید. همه جا شاید به شما میگن جملات پیچیده بگید، ولی استاد برعکسش رو کامل میگن آقا simplicity، یعنی سادگی. و simplicity is not simple at all. استاد ساده به نظر رسیدن و گفتم واقعا خودش ساده نیست، بحثیه که باید واقعا به این برسیم. و حقوقی‌ها فکر نکنید الان هرچی پیچیده تر حرف بزنن بهتره. ما میخوایم این تابو رو برهم بزنیم، به اصطلاح این نگاه رو ما میخوایم به اصطلاح برهم بزنیم و شما مطمئن باشید برای همین جلسه که استاد برگزار بکنن، همین 1.5 ساعت ما بدون اغراق شاید 50 جلسه 2-3 ساعته داشتیم. یعنی انقدر استاد ملتزم هستن و متعهد هستن، من به عمرم جایی ندیدم. یعنی مطمئن باشید نمونه دیگری در ایران برای این دوره و شیوه کار و تعهد اخلاقی استاد اساساً جایی وجود نداره و پیدا نخواهید کرد. خیلیاتون هم مشکلتون اینه شاید مثلا به اصطلاح زبانتون ضعیف باشه و اینها، این عیبی نداره. یعنی سعی کنید اگه چند درصد فهمیدید همین سعی کنید با یک به اصطلاح خود روند کلاس طوری هست که این اکتساب زبان، همون language acquisition، برای شما رخ خواهد داد. و یه نکته هم بگم، اونهایی که حالا پاسخ دادن به سوالا و اینها، تو تلگرام احتمالاً من رو دارید یا در اینستاگرام. برای ثبت نام در کلاس اصلی پیام بدید که ما گفتیم اگه سوالام جواب درست داده باشید 50% تخفیف هم براتون در نظر میگیریم. و حتی اگر باز مسئله مالی داشتید برای ثبت نام و اینها، شما پیام بدید و بدونیم که ما میخوایم واقعا مشارکت بالا بشه. واقعا استاد الان به استاد آمریکایی ما داریم، سالهاست در مسکو تدریس میکنن، باعث افتخار واقعا وجود ایشون بتونیم بهره مند بشیم. حتی من قصد دارم اگه استقبال خوبی بشه حضوری هم استاد رو دعوت کنیم و یه جلسات حضوری هم بتونیم ترتیب بدیم، از محضر استاد بهره مند بشیم و فقط برای یک بار هم نباشه، اما به شرط اینکه استقبال خوبی انجام بشه. بنابراین من از شما درخواست میکنم که هم خودتون هم کلاسیانتون دوستانتون این رو کلاس رو معرفی بکنید و ثبت نام بکنید و یاد بگیرید. اونم یه نوع یادگیری که همیشه انشاءالله در ذهن شما خواهد. I'm finished here.
I have a question. A lady has asked a question at the beginning of the class, and she said how we can improve our speaking. Unfortunately, I didn't hear what you say. Could you please repeat your answer, please? Thank you.
Very good question. And unfortunately, I have a very short memory. I don't know what I said, but it's very simple. First of all, we're talking about speaking. Yes, not writing, not listening, not reading. Do I understand that correctly? Good. Okay. Well, the only way you're going to improve your speaking is by speaking. Okay, that's the only way you can do it. It will not happen any other way. That means that yes, I can give you several things, suggestions. First of all, one thing I always tell people is there's no pill. There's no English pill. And I've had to tell that to actually some very important people who wanted to improve their English but didn't have time to do it. And you know, I've worked with them, and it doesn't happen. And I say, you're not making the sacrifice. You want to learn English, you have to sacrifice something. That's exactly where we are. There's no pill. You have to figure out how is the best way for you to learn speaking English. And the way I say is, first of all, what I said, 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening. Now, one thing that works very nicely is during those 10 minutes, listen to music and sing along with the singer. You need, as a woman, you need to find a woman singer who has a voice that's like yours. And it has to be in native English. Sing along with her, learn the words, sing along. The interesting thing that happens is you are concentrating on the music and you're not thinking about the pronunciation, and you almost get perfect pronunciation when you do that. Listen as much as you can. We have a metro here in Moscow. It might take me 40 minutes to get to work. So I listen to something in English while I'm in the metro. Do that. There's a little trick that is kind of difficult, but it is what we call shadowing. Ali, say something to me in English, a short sentence, and I'm going to shadow you. Say,
let me introduce you the webinar.
Introduce you to the webinar. Notice what I'm doing. I'm saying, I'm following as if I were a simultaneous translator, following what Ali is saying. And when you do that, what happens is you're concentrating so hard on remembering what the person is saying that you're not thinking about making mistakes. And the shadowing is a good technique. It's very hard to do, but you can try that. The other thing is, of course, to simply define groups of people who are speaking English. there's no substitute for practice. Even if it is not native English, at least it's English. And generally, you know when you're saying something incorrectly or not the way you want it. That's fine. When you even make a mistake, at least you usually know that it's a mistake. And of course, the best way to do it is to find, a tutor who's a native speaker, but that's time, money, and a schedule. So it all depends upon what I should say, what you have to do.
Thank you for your explanation and your advice.
Family, what do I want to say? Family obligations and the like. Does that answer your question or not? There's no simple answer. Does that help? Yes? No? Okay, it's a hard one because there is no answer and there's no pill. Just keep working, okay? And give yourself credit. When you work a little bit, when you do your 10 minutes or your 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening, give yourself a little reward, like if you like candy, have some candy. Or it's like when you come back from exercise class, you give yourself a reward. You maybe have a cup of coffee or something. Give yourself a reward. That's really important. Yeah. And we'll be doing a lot of this in class. And the more you can answer the questions and respond, the better.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Any other comments?
I have one question.
Yes, please go ahead.
I'm Saber Ahmadi.
Yes. No.
Thank you for class. It's very useful.
Go for it.
And we appreciate a lot from you, Professor. I have one question. Can we begin the class from January?
Unfortunately not. We're planning it. You see, I teach here in Moscow. I live in Moscow and I teach in Moscow, and we have a break between sessions. And so we're doing the course during this period of time when I'm free to do it. And in fact, we've really made it very intense by having 3 sessions a week. And I don't see any possibility to get through all of the classes in that amount of time to start in January. Can you imagine any way of doing it, Ali?
I already responded so many such questions that we cannot postpone our class because this is the only possible time that we have right now, which is during your break period, as you said. Yeah. It's not possible. Maybe for the next courses that we have to plan in advance for the next 6 months, or I don't know, for the next year.
Well, we're looking at possibly doing a course in April, May, hopefully, and maybe sometime in the summer. However, this winter break is the longest period of time we have. I wish I could give you a better answer, but you see, it's not only just what do I want to say? It's not only just the timing, but it's the intensity and the degree to which we're doing it. We're trying to get as much English throwing at you, literally throwing at you.
Thank you for your response.
4 weeks.
The class is very, very useful. We appreciate a lot from Prof. You.
Anything else? Anybody else want to ask anything? Or make comments?
Okay.
I wish I could give you a better response, but if I were to do that, if I were to say, yes, we can do it in January, I wouldn't be giving you the full benefit that, you know, we can do. You'd be getting like maybe 30% of it instead of, you know, 100%.
Yeah. Thank you, dear professor. I think we are finished with the questions.
Okay, very fine. Let me express my thanks to all of you. Again, you are the people who make the class. You are the ones who do the work. And you are the ones who make it possible for me to do something that is, as far as I can see, important. So you create the opportunity for me to help. And that's a great honor as far as I'm concerned. So thank you.
Thank you very much, dear professor. The honor's ours. Thank you very much.
We'll fight over whose honor it is, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll just all be honored. Okay, great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
okay. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can I add one more thing maybe?
Of course.
In Farsi, because I forgot to add it in Farsi as well. دوستان ما قراره یک جلسه اینچنینی باز هم داشته باشیم احتمالا 3 روز قبل از دوره که این رو اطلاع رسانی میکنیم. حتما اگه علاقمند بودید مباحث بیشتری بشنوید ما در خدمتتون هستیم. I added one comment about this promo too. I forgot to, you know, add
oh, right, good. Okay, good. Yeah.
Yeah, in my Farsi translation, because I think it's important for them to know that we are going to have another session of this kind that they can participate and
we'll definitely have new questions from the masters and PhD session with a new kind of a strategy too.
Yeah. Thank you very much, dear professor, for being with us.